for Mama Kwaba the mobile official long media. So I will show a friend of my brother acquaintance. My brother acquaintance educate you. And you know when Asama was simple trouble more say over subscribe to our accounts and then you share and also like our program. My brother acquaintance you. Obrano Ediwara. You should check on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. May that's it. Etiefo yesama mo akwaba de mo ba ma brabo akwantuo program so ma brabo akwantuo we medican achew se oni maame du fie ehia se ya na abrabo akwantuo ne beboa wo ama won so kwana befa so abeba wo bra me kire enemmai youth no kwana abefa so wa hyase kosi na wieye na abrabo akwantuo me ka de bi se abrabo enyemriketuo nemo abrabo eye nkakra ene so me di nipa so nkokora odimu yie ewo Roman asafo mu na oye Roman sofo panyini kese baako a in fact ye ba ye nia ye ga na ha wo free ha enu nti na ene de be kobrofo kakra na wonte na se ya ebrepam no me amekoso acheche mu kakra na onso ate ase nti medwumadie so no ye na o sha asesesi na enche kra na ene wa wie ne mo famu abama me na nti me akwan so nkoso mo de hye ma me do fie nie na magye madwa yi atade a hye me fefefe yi eye kino fashion ene pamma me sa enso na me hairstyle if sister Vic August so court dan home me make us if Vic omodi ana ne entrance ye dan ho aba ye ba then I will tell you who Father Philip is. Welcome back from commercial break on my Brabo Akwantuo show. I have with me here today our guest. His name is Father Philip. He happens to be a Roman Catholic father or a priest of Roman Catholic in Ahafo region. Father Philip is here with me to tell us about his life journey, what he's been through since his teens up to this time. So let's go quickly to Father Philip and ask him who Father Philip is, and then you hear more from him. Father Philip, welcome on the show, My Brabo Akwantuo. And when you say My Brabo Akwantuo, then it's the life journey, your life journey. So now the listeners and the audience wants to know who Father Philip is. So you just introduce yourself and then tell us more about you.
Okay. Thank you, my sister. My name is Father Philip Taylor. I'm from England originally, but I've lived outside of my country for over 25 years. I visited during that time, but 25 years since I actually lived there. And during that time, I have been a member of the Catholic congregation of the Servants of the Paraclete, which is a small group within the Catholic Church. And over the last 6.5 years, I've been in Ghana. Prior to that, I was in the Philippines. Prior to that, I was in the USA. And prior to that, I left my own country back in 1997. My life story is longer than my religious life. It starts with being born in the UK in the 1950s and being born to an Anglican family. My mother and father were both Anglicans, not really practicing frequently, but they were Anglicans, and I was baptized into the Anglican Church as a 6-month-old baby. But I didn't remain an Anglican throughout my life. In my 20s, I was questioning religion. I was questioning even the existence of God. And during that time of questioning, I became a Roman Catholic by conversion. That's the word we used to use then. I think it's still used now. And the main reason for that was that the Catholic Church seemed to have more answers for me than my own tradition. The family and the friends were not too happy about that.
Yeah, sure.
But I did it, and eventually, I think the family kind of accepted it after a while. So who is Father Philip? Well, it'll take me more than a few minutes, but that's my kind of religious part of my journey, up to date.
Okay, so I was even about to ask, why not in Anglican, a priest in Anglican,
Yes,
and
yes.
now in Catholic Church?
Yes.
But it seems you've already answered that, so I'll go straight to the point and then ask that why did you choose to be a priest and not maybe any other person but a priest to work for God?
Right. Good question. Good question, Sister. I after my conversion at the age of 22 to Catholicism, I could, as you've hinted at, Sister, I could have remained as a lay person, for the rest of my life, done all the normal things that lay people do, a career and marriage and family and so on. As some of your viewers will be aware, the Catholic tradition currently sees celibacy, sees as the single life as the way for priests, but not for lay people, not for lay Catholics. They get married like other religious people and people of no religion. So after the conversion, whether it was the enthusiasm of my conversion, the enthusiasm of becoming a Catholic, I'm not sure, but there was certainly a strong feeling emerging that to be a layperson as a Catholic was wonderful, and nothing wrong with that at all. But I felt that I needed to do more, or needed to do something different. Yeah, it didn't start immediately, but it kind of it came along with my conversion. So I felt that I must approach the parish priest, the local priest, followed by the bishop, to talk about this, which I did, and it was agreed that providing I spent at least 2 years as a new Catholic, need to do it to be in the Catholic Church for 2 years, then they would consider me for the priesthood. So I became a seminarian, which is a trainee priest in Ireland. It should have been a 6-year program in order to be a priest. But at the end of my 4th year, I began to have doubts about whether I'm really suited for the priesthood. And there are lots of things going on, but the main challenge was having to stay single for the rest of my life.
Yes, a big challenge.
A big challenge. You're right. And that grew over the 4th year in the seminary. So I spoke with my spiritual director, and between us, it seemed a good idea for me to pull out voluntarily from the seminary, which is what I did. I went to university after leaving, and I was once again a layman and free in many ways. And the opportunities for settling down with a person that I really wanted to settle down with were there, and they continued to be there after my graduation, and started back in the normal working life. I worked for a transportation company in England for almost 10 years. And so there were opportunities to form more intimate relationships and eventually get married and have children. But it didn't happen. And even to this day, I ask myself why. Many reasons, but one thing that I will share with the program is that this feeling of wanting to kind of give my whole life to the church as a minister,
Yes.
maybe not a priest, but a minister, maybe a brother in the church, or a full-time person in the church that is not working in a job elsewhere. So that's why initially I wanted to become a priest. Secondly, after leaving and living outside for 13 years, I began less convinced that priesthood was the right thing,
Oh, wow.
but full-time ministry was the right
Yes.
thing. So when I applied to the congregation I belong to now, I was asked the same question you've asked me today, sister, and that is, do you think God is calling you to be a priest? And I said, I'm not really sure. I think he's calling me to be to be a full-time religious man in the church, but I'm not sure about the priesthood.
Okay.
And I was ordained to the priesthood because my congregation asked me to become a priest. So
Okay.
that's the long answer.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm here with Father Philip, and he's sharing with us his life journey, and in fact, it's very interesting. As Father Philip was saying, he's been a Catholic priest for some years now, and I'm going to ask him how many years has he been in Ghana and the circumstances surrounding his living in Ghana. So, Father, you just heard me.
Yes.
Yeah, the circumstances surrounding your living in Ghana.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. It's a long story, but I'll try and keep it short.
Sure.
I first visited Ghana as a servant of the Paraclete and as a priest in the servants of the Paraclete congregation in 2005, and it was a visit to Ghana to meet young men who would be interested in joining the congregation of the servants of the Paraclete, which did not have a house or a community in Ghana at that time. And we recruited maybe 6 or 7 from Ghana, and they went to the Philippines to train.
Okay.
One of those is still with us. Only one is still with us, and he's been with us since 2007, and he is now a priest himself. The time of coming to Ghana 17 years ago now, I never guessed that I would live here in the future. But time and God's will, I think, eventually brought me to Ghana to live in 2016, 11 years later than my first visit. And the reason for that was that my boss, my superior, said, I think it's time for us now to have a house in Ghana. And so I came over here with 2 other Ghanaian brothers. They weren't ordained priests at the time. And we started from scratch. We didn't have a house. We didn't have a place to live. We lived in retreat houses for the first 6 months, and we continued to live in borrowed houses right through until recently. We finished a house in Cape Coast in the central region about 6 months ago. That's taken us that long to actually.
Was there not sponsorship for that?
There were difficulties with finding our own house because the 3 of us came over kind of cold. We came over without any connections, or very few connections in Ghana, so we had to make those connections. We had to be accepted, so it took time. Then finding land was not easy. It was very difficult for us to find land, and it was very difficult for the congregation as a whole to offer the amount of money we needed to build as well. The land was not too expensive, but the building took a long time. So in summary, I arrived here in 2016 to stay.
2016.
16.
Oh, 6 years back.
6 years, 7 years in April next year.
Okay.
And during that time, I've become comfortable in Ghana, and I hope I can spend the rest of my
Wow.
days in Ghana.
Wow, we take credit for that.
Yes, thanks be to God.
Anyway.
Okay.
I'm glad you said that. That you're going to live in Ghana forever. Yeah, to the end of your life.
I hope
All right,
so.
we thank God for that. Now, do you have special advice for the youth?
I've met a lot of youth, not only with interviewing people to join us, but in my day-to-day kind of wandering around, I meet youth a lot. It's a very young country. I think Ghana, the number of youth, I think outnumbers the older people. Certainly that's my impression. And my advice would be, perseverance is going to be your lifeline, I think, because there are so many obstacles and so many barriers to have a life with a hope and the future. Unemployment, the economics of Ghana, some of the systems of Ghana make it difficult for everybody, but I think the youth suffer more than most because there's a feeling of what am I doing with my life? Do I need to get out of the country in order to survive, in order to have meaning, in order to have a career? There's a lot of questions that nobody, I think, has got the answer for. So my advice as a non-Ghanaian is you'll have to persevere because there is hope. It's slow coming. There's a lot of obstacles that seem almost impossible to overcome, but my sense is that there is a place somewhere in the future when things will be brighter for the youth.
Okay, like viewers, that was Father Philip. In fact, he shared with us a lot about his life, and he's talking about perseverance, and I like that. So just take your time and then do whatever you want to do, but in the near future, you get there one day. As Ghana president will say, this too shall pass. So you shall surely get there. So, Father, is there any other advice or any other message for those out there? Just 1 minute.
Right. I'm almost reluctant to say what I'm about to say.
Just to motivate them.
Yeah, but I noticed that there's a passion to get out. I have to be honest. Nearly every young person I speak to is speaking about getting out of Ghana and
Getting out of Ghana.
Getting out of Ghana, yeah, leaving
go and see
and
for
going
greener pastures.
Yes, abroad. And while I think it's understandable and very understandable when it looks so bleak in Ghana at the moment to them. I mean, maybe I'm seeing it more optimistically than they are. But the other side of the hill always looks greener. Always looks greener. And my own country. I know my own country well enough. I was in America for long enough. They're two countries that many of the young people I meet are talking about, as though it's paradise or heaven or something. And there's nowhere on earth that is perfect. And there are many values in Ghana that you will not find in those countries or those cultures. So my other bit of advice is, maybe you can find what you're looking for here.
Okay.
Here in Ghana. Yeah.
Okay. You can find what you are looking for in Ghana. Okay, thank you so much, Father Philip, for sharing with us your life journey. We are most grateful for being, part of the show. We think one of these days we shall also meet again for another, side of their story to be told. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, sister.
All right. Thank you too. For Father Philip, I'm in the country in Comono. My brother going to a sure de biano, the brother na yet near a coso, a wabrabonimona. Father Philip, you're telling can. And I want to find out, say, Father Philip, you're free Englander. They say, well, you're Roman, so for penny a war, Roman Catholic Church, ɛwɔ goso titu ɛne sɛ goso da sɛ Sam Kale Church mu no ɛno na wɔwɔ na wɔdi ne dwuma bebree ɛde boa asafo no ne botaeɛ paa wɔde firi ne kurom ɛbaa wɔ se baabi wɔ watena Philippines ebi wɔ nso so watena America nneɛma baabi bebree na watena ne mmom no ne botaeɛ paa wɔde baa Ghana ne sɛ ɔno nso bɛboa na wɔn atete sɛ mmerante no ma ba wɔn pɛ sɛ wɔn bɛyɛ sɔfo dwuma no ebi wɔ kora na wɔni baabi da obi nso wɔ hɔ kora na kyerɛ sɛ biribi nti ɛna wɔntumi nka ne ho nkonyame adwuma mu na mmom no ɔno nso so wɔ ha sɛ ɔbɛboa na watwe bebree nti ɔkyerɛ a wɔn atete nkɔfo bebree sisi a wɔkasa kora baako da so wɔ ne nkyɛn a ɔboa sɛ ɔno nso bɛyɛ Roman father na ɔde aboa adwuma no na ne tɔfa mu nyinaa ɛkyerɛ sɛ na nka wɔyɛ aberante a wɔgyina so anka obɛtumi aka sɛ yɛwɔ na Anglican Church mu obɛtumi ayɛ ɔsɔfo wɔ Anglican asafo mu a ɛnkɛ no obɛtumi aware anya ne yere ne mma or passion for kids but nyɛ no na ɔmaa no twetwe no deɛ ma a wɔdi gyina mu ne sɛ wɔnya botaeɛ bi nyina ɛnya gyinaeɛ wɔgyina biribi so ɛka sɛ nyame frɛ no ɔfrɛ wɔ a ɛnhwɛ nkyɛnkyɛn ɛno na ama no de abɛyɛ Roman asafo no ɔsɔfo panyini baako no nti nea wɔka nyinaa ne sɛ wɔn nso so bɛtumi ayɛ ɛmfa ho ɛne baabi a wɔ biara no wɔse bebree na apɛ sɛ wɔn firi Ghana kɔbɔ bra ɛwɔ aburokyi mɛm ɛnkɛyɛ deɛ nanso ɔno deɛ ohun ne sɛ wɔn nso tew mɛma wɔbɛtumi ayɛ to you so ready be that perseverance ɛyɛ adeɛ a wɔsɛ wonya saa enyinaso no wonya wosi gyinaeɛ na wosan so epini wo tirim sɛ me nso so metumi ayɛ na wo nso betumi ayɛ true mabrabɔ akwantuo no you can do it and do it better nti no aha na yɛde besie dwumadie yi sɛ ɛyɛ wo da na wode na ase sonko kra ɛma LOM Media Production in fact ọma yɛ adeɛ bebree nti wobɛtumi akɔhwɛ yɛkyerɛ kwan ɛwɔ Facebook, Twitter, YouTube ɛna afei TikTok abere a wokɔbɔ official LOM Media yɛbɛka ne LOM Media wobɛhu yɛ ndwumadi ahodoɔ biara ɛwɔ hɔ na wo nso watumi aboa mepakyɛ wokɔ a ɛyɛ subscribe share na like ma yɛn na onyame bɛhyira bebree media mede gye so ɛyɛ maame do fie okran hyɛ ɛna wa na mabrabɔ akwantuo sɛ ɔbra no ɛdi wara